Hi everybody, Jeff here again. Today we're going to talk about a question we get asked quite a bit, and that is, how do I terminate my wood floor up against a sliding glass door? And the problem is, when you're trying to do this, the pieces that they sell in the big box stores like Home Depot, Floor & Decor, Lowe's, it's pretty pathetic. They don't carry the proper piece that you need to do this. And I'm going to show you here a sample of this. Here's a profile of the piece that you need. This is called a threshold piece, and they don't stock it. It's a special order, and which is strange because often they come in and they don't really match the wood that you're using. So I always like to bring a sample with me to wherever I order it from. Sometimes Lumber Liquidators stocks them, so I've gone down there before and I just bring a sample of the wood. And so this is how the threshold piece is supposed to work. Now, if you look at the profile here, see what it does here? It's supposed to be right up against the cement here on the bottom, and then the overhang here goes over your wood floor, and that gap is supposed to be in there. This allows for the wood floor to expand and contract in and out as the temperature increases and humidity and all that stuff. So you have to have this part with you when you're laying the floor. You don't just lay the floor and then as an afterthought go, oh duh, you know, what kind of transition piece am I going to use? So I always have this with me so that when I'm cutting each and every one of these planks here, they're all at the same length, because I know exactly how they need to line up to this thing to give me the right exact spacing that we're going to need before we glue this piece down. Okay. Now the problem here that you're going to find quite a bit here with the cement is, and I've done this for many years, I've remodeled numerous places, and the problem that we keep finding is that the builders just can't seem to make a nice flat level concrete floor, and it really comes to fruition here at the very end where it meets up with your sliding glass doors. They're usually wavy like this, up and down and up and down, and the problem with this one here, it's pretty hard to see it, but I'll show you in a minute the results of it, is that the concrete falls off a cliff here. It just kind of really leans back and down there, which when you get over to here, it keeps your piece from laying level. You see that? See how it wants to kind of lean backwards? It should be level like this. All right, so here's what I'm talking about. As you can see on the far left of the sliding glass door here, the piece is laying fairly level. We'll just make up with that, well, with a little bit of PL adhesive. But watch this, as I start to slide over to the right, you're going to see this drop off rapidly, like the ocean bottom almost. See, now you're looking at a ½ inch gap in there. I can fit my entire finger under there. So you're going to see this going all the way across here. Now it's like, you know, the thing wants to sit way back like that. So what we're going to do here is we have these metal pieces, and if you go down your hardware aisle, like at Home Depot, Lowe's, or what have you, one of the aisles there, they have these bins with all these. You can get metal strips that are a 1/16 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, a 1/4 of an inch, and then this one actually came with one of our T-moldings that we bought. Sometimes they come with a little kit, and you put this under there, and we'll glue this down, and this will give it some support, and now you can see it's a lot more level. So as you kind of dry fit it here, you can see that's going to lay perfectly once it's all glued down and everything. So these are some of the things you're going to have to deal with as you're working with transition pieces. We're also going to show you today how to use this part here. This is called a T-transition here, and T-mold, and you use this here wherever you meet with a wood floor up against tile. So that'll be in part 2 of the video. Alright, so I've gone ahead and marked in the pencil here where I want my metal piece to start, because it really doesn't need to start till about here. And it's going to go all the way down here, and then I have a second piece after this one here that connects up down there. What we're going to do is lay down a layer of PL adhesive, and then we're going to embed this in the adhesive, And then we'll glue this part down on top of it, making sure that this part is all the way back. You want the threshold piece to be all the way against the track. And this is a good time to start straightening out all the little dents in your track if you have any. Try to get it as straight as you can. And remember, you don't glue it down to the wood here at all. You never glue it to the wood because the wood needs to be free to go in and out as it expands and contracts underneath this threshold piece. So the only piece you ever want to glue it to is this back track and on top of here on this metal piece. So I usually do a big thick glob right in there, and that's usually enough to hold it all down. Alright, so now I'm just going to lay down a generous portion of the PL adhesive here that we're going to embed the metal rail in. Alright, so now I'm going to embed this. There's all of my adhesive there, construction adhesive. And I'm just going to lay this down in there and let it mush in place. And hopefully he'll be nice and flat there. And I just have to come down and do the next piece. So now I'm just laying down the adhesive here for the second piece of metal. Alright, so we have the second piece embedding now. And now that we've got these all sitting where we want them, we then want to take our cut pieces and set them down here and do a dry fit before we glue them on top of here and just make sure that everything's right. Okay, so now I'm taking my transition piece here and I'm going to put it on there and test it out, and it looks pretty good. He's lying nice and flat there. And keep in mind, once we glue it down, we'll put some buckets. You put a protective cloth down and then put some buckets on top of it to hold it down into place overnight until it's dry. So now I'm putting the adhesive on here that's going to hold the actual threshold piece of wood over it. I like to get it on the top and in the corners as well. And you don't want to overdo it in the corners, like on this spot here, because when you push the piece in there, it's going to kind of ooze up a bit. Okay, so now that I have the adhesive down on top of the metal piece, I'm going to put my threshold piece of wood down here. And you should always have enough glue on there so that when you're pushing down on it, you'll feel it kind of get firm and spongy as it's settling in. If you don't feel that, then you don't have enough glue down, and the piece is just going to pop back up as soon as somebody steps on it, most likely. Up against the back of the metal rail there. And then here's the other piece, the smaller piece. So this is sort of what stinks about all of these threshold pieces, is the idiot manufacturers know that you have 8-foot sliding glass doors, but they give you 6-foot pieces, so you always end up making like a 2-foot cut. Now you could cut it in the middle, but you know, these pieces are very expensive, and we're tired of getting these pieces and having to buy 2 every time. So we decided on this one here to cut this one at 2 feet, and that way we have a 4-foot section to use the next time. We won't have to go and buy a second piece for the next door that we do. Alright, so now that it's glued down in place, just to make sure that it stays down, we're going to protect this here. I just got my little tool bin I'm going to stick on there. It'll hold it down until it dries overnight. And we're going to do one here and one at the other end. So here it is with all of the weights on it. We also like to use the small round 2.5 and 5 pound weights, you know, from the barbell sets. those work. Anything you have with weight on it will work, but just make sure that you protect the wood first with a cloth. So now let's go on and take a look on how we do the transition over against tile. So this is your T-mold piece here, and this is specifically used to help you transition between two level floors that are wood and tile like this. So you see how that fits in there like that? So what you need to really do here is when you put the piece down, you want to put it all the way up against the tile like you see there. And so all your glue goes, you can do a little bit underneath there. You want some on that little corner there, and then some underneath the transition piece there. Now, these often come with a flat piece of metal, that same metal that I just showed you when we used on the threshold. And you can put that under there to fill that gap, because you really don't want to use your adhesive to be your gap filler, to be reinforcement, or to be structure. So that's why we put the metal down and we glue this down to the metal. Now, what happens if your tile was up a lot higher and you're like that instead of, flat? Then you would use what they call a reducer piece. But this T-molding here is going to work just absolutely perfect here. So I want to show you the cut that we made. Okay, so what's often the challenge is this one here was done at an angle. So we used one of those template ruler tools to help find the angle and all that. And we cut this piece at an angle here, at this end here, so that it would line up there with that baseboard. And then over here down at this end here, what we did was, you see, we got kind of sporty with the cut and wrapped it around the corner of the baseboard there. So that as we dry fit it and lay it down flat, we see it's looking real perfect here. So this is how you transition between the wood and the tile. Now, we've seen some people in the past just say, well, just do a clean edge, don't even do this. They want you to take the edge of the wood and run it straight to the tile. Well, the problem is there's two problems. One, you'd have lippage because they're not going to be the exact same height. And two, the wood has to have room to expand. You're supposed to leave about a ½ an inch for the room to expand, to go in and out on this wood here. And so if you run this all the way up to the cement, to the tile here, you're likely to just buckle the wood floor, and that would be very, very bad. So you always want to follow the directions of the manufacturer. And I've never seen one ever that says, yeah, sure, you can run the wood all the way up to the tile, no problem. No, you can't. So that's why you always have to have some type of transition. And this piece here, this is another one of my complaints, is sometimes the stores, when they sell you this wood, they don't stock the matching transition piece that goes with it. So in this case, we just kind of found one that looked pretty close in color, and that's the way it sort of works for you. So I'm just running a bead of this adhesive right in the corner there where it's going to rest on the corner of the tile. And make sure you know which side you're putting it on, because you don't want to put it on the wrong side and then you're screwed. Okay, so we've now glued it down. And remember, it's important when you're putting this down, no glue goes on this side of the T. All the glue is only on that side. And a little bit might ooze out underneath. You just wipe it off like this. You can use a wet cloth too. But you don't ever glue it to the floor on this side, because the floor has to be able to expand and contract underneath it. So that's it. That's how you do the transition pieces from the wood to the tile, and from the wood floor to the sliding glass door. So if you found this helpful, please leave positive comments for us and subscribe to our channel. We're always adding new videos, and we'll see you on the next one.